what's your next move for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Where do you see him going next?
Yeah, and I think it's very important to remember that all of the final details of the contract have not come out, so this projected cap space is likely to change in the coming days. But what this, about, let's call it 10, 12, 15 million, somewhere in that range, allows the Steelers the flexibility to do is to bring in Justin Simmons. And I think the next move that they're going to make is a debate between, do the Steelers make any move, and the other option being, do they bring in Justin Simmons? Because I think last year with the Atlanta Falcons, he made about $7.5 million, if I'm remembering correctly. I think a $5 million, $4 million deal, something like that, easily brings him in the door, especially with the opportunity to start. And so I think the debate internally, if I had to guess right now for the Steelers, is, do we finally sit and be quiet? And do we just go into training camp as is and then make adjustments and evaluate from there? Or do we have one more swing left in us? Do we go get Justin Simmons because we know we can afford him still, and we just wrap up all of this offseason roster overhaul, and then we finally can put a lid on all of the offseason moves, all of the roster adjustments, and just head into training camp? So I'm going to make a little bit of a prediction that I think a safety move is happening, and I think Justin Simmons is going to come to the Steelers here pretty soon, and that is what I expect to be the next move. But I think the debate is, do we just stand pat at this point and just see what we have on the field before we make any other moves? Do you disagree?
No, I think a safety is next. I kind of look at Omar Khan right now, and maybe I'm off, but I don't know. Just like knowing Omar, watching the little glances and the little smirks that he gives during these situations, like, to me, I kind of picture, and this is just me, Omar sitting in his office with his little smirk on, just going like, oh yeah, they think we're done. They think we're done, and he's on the phone right now with Justin Simmons' agent. He's on the phone right now with Julian Blackmon's agent or Jordan Whitehead's agent or whoever. It's just looking to say, yeah, we got one more. You know what I mean? We're not done. Your training camp's not till Wednesday, and that means we have plenty of time to get something done before we step on the field at St. Vincent College. We're gonna get something done. That's Omar's an aggressive dude, man. Omar is a GM that goes out and he gets what he wants. And you've seen that. Like, there's never been a move that we have talked about where Omar has just like failed to get it done, right? I mean, unless I'm totally wrong, it's hard to sit here and say, remember that one time Omar Khan wanted to do this and couldn't do it? Brandon Ayuk, that was the one time that Omar like chased it and failed. Besides that, when he locks into something, it feels like it gets done. And it kind of feels like this is the offseason. This is not another team that he's battling with to say, oh, we have to come up with some trade. This is a signing for Justin Simmons. This is a signing for Julian Blackmon. This is a signing for, again, Jordan Whitehead or whoever. And I just look at it and say, Omar right now has got to be pretty fired up to be able to go do that. And I think that this almost motivated him to go get it done, because that's the other side of it is I don't think the Steelers view themselves as anything less than a Super Bowl team right now. And to do that, they're going to go out and they're going to make a move to say, there are no more holes. Maybe Jonnu Smith's our wide receiver too. Maybe Calvin Austin's our wide receiver too. And maybe that could be better, but there are no holes. There's no we need a safety because we don't have a third safety or we don't have a starting safety. We have a bunch of misfits who are probably starters in the NFL competing for wide receiver too, but that's it. That's all we've got looking heading into training camp. I could see Justin Simmons being the next move, and I could see it happening quick. And I agree with you. I think like $5 million gets the deal done at this point. I don't think it's much crazier than that. But I do think that just about $5 million could make a deal. Do you think, on the other side, because we'll talk Calvin Austin and Juan Jennings here in a minute, do you think that a splash wide receiver trade, because I don't think you could afford Terry McLaurin. I think that's like so far-fetched, but maybe. Do you think that the Steelers even have that on their board where Omar Khan's sitting there with the giant math equation trying to figure out how to do it? Do you even think that's a thought right now?
I mean, yes, I think it's a thought for sure. The one overarching theme that I think I have learned and am taking away from this offseason is how efficiently Omar Khan pursues what he wants in silence. There are a lot of league or a lot of general managers, organizations within the league who are not able to keep a tight lid on what they're doing and how they're going about it. Omar Khan is the complete opposite. This man, again, so much happens in a very quick timeline, and that is the news cycle of the current environment or something. I understand that, but it seems like the Omar Khan has been so unpredictable, and as soon as we feel like we have him locked in and we have a grasp on the pattern on which he is pursuing players or the overall look he's trying to bring to the Steelers, he goes in a completely different direction. So I think, of course, he's having this thought. I think he's he's more logical, smarter than us in terms of understanding how the cap situation could impact any of these moves. But to sit here and say that he's just like, what, I'm tapped out for the year, I did it all, I think would be vastly underestimating one of the most cunning general managers in the league in Omar Khan.
Yeah. I look at Omar again, like, I'm going to go back to the smirk, but he's kind of like a mad scientist, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he's just trying to figure it out. If Washington started making phone calls, I could see Omar engaging in a conversation. That's where I think that goes, is if Washington calls Pittsburgh, there's a conversation to be had. Omar's going to have that conversation. The Steelers calling Washington, I think, may be a little bit far-fetched for them to say, like, hey, we don't actually have the cap space, but, let's have a conversation. Let's see what it would cost for Terry McLaurin. I don't think that's where they're at. I think if Washington started, because again, that's how it starts. People say, well, Washington wouldn't call teams. The Steelers called so many teams in the NFL trying to trade George Pickens to say, hey, what's the value of George Pickens? What could we give for him? And then they eventually traded him. Teams call teams looking for trade value and to see what they can get. And if the Steelers are that hungry, Washington's going to call. I could see that one.